The next question, which you all have a chance to weigh in on, is how will you get businesses back into empty storefronts in town? And we begin with Victor Frost.
We've gone over this a couple times. Oh, sorry. We've gone over this a couple times. Tax cuts. I've talked to some merchants. Some merchants aren't doing good business. Businesses are kind of slow. So we need tax cuts to begin with, and going from there. Lowering rents, talking to landlords, and maybe, as I mentioned a long time ago at one of the forums, a business bitch website where all the businesses can log on and bitch or complain or have current issues. And then each month the city council will review it, and same with the public. Thank you.
Karen Holman.
One of the things that I loved so much about Palo Alto when I came here was not only the residential but the retail diversity, and we've lost some good bit of that. One of the things that we can really do easily and inexpensively here, and actually probably would save money for the city, is to integrate our process for getting permits for businesses to occupy existing buildings. We have such a process that applicants have to go through building department, planning department, utilities, public works, name the department, and they're all running parallel as opposed to coordinated. People get so frustrated with that process that they leave and go to other communities. One of the more recent stories, but not the only one that I was told or have been told, is a young man who lives in Palo Alto, wanted to open his distillery. All he needed was 2,500 square feet, was looking for existing space, and he got so frustrated with the process that he left, went to Belmont, and was able to get his permits and open in 2 days was all it took him to get his permits. That doesn't serve our retail community very well at all. Same thing happens for events. We also need to be much more proactive and creative in approaching and attracting new retail services. And we also need to be looking at our local independent businesses, supporting them, promoting them through Destination Palo Alto. We rely primarily on special events for promoting Palo Alto through the Destination Palo Alto program. We have a lot of businesses, community aspects, and assets that we should be promoting through that program.
Dan Dykewell.
Well, I think some things we can do fairly quickly. When you try and get a permit for a housing modification, they put it online so you have some way of knowing at least what department it's in, and I would suggest that we do that with the permitting process. But one of the other problems is we need to break down the walls between the departments so that when someone does apply for a permit, it will flow more smoothly. These people need to work together on it. Part of that could be assigning an ombudsman, someone who really cheerleads for someone who wants to open a business in Palo Alto. We need to work more closely with the Chamber of Commerce. When they become aware of someone who's interested in doing business in Palo Alto, they should run helter-skelter to the city and say, we have a live one, let's work together and see what we can do to bring these people to Palo Alto. We need to update the Economic Development Plan. It was written in 1992, revised in 99 or 8, hasn't been revised since. How can you have a 10-year-old economic development plan in today's economy? It's a very different situation. We need to sell, not sell off, but promote the assets of Palo Alto, such as our fiber ring, our knowledge-based workers here. And we really need to be much more creative, working with the existing businesses, understand what they need, what their obstacles are, and work closely to try and keep them in their stores. And that includes not just University, but Cal Ave, Charleston Plaza, any remaining sites we have. Thank you.
Mark Weiss.
I ran a business where, granted a small business, where I was renting Cubberley Theater, the former high school auditorium, to produce concerts there, and I always wanted to kind of grow from there, learn the business there, and then find a space downtown to produce concerts. And I was spending about $10,000 a year with the city, producing maybe 25 to 30 concerts a year. It cost about $500 at the time to rent Cubberley. And then shortly thereafter, I was producing some shows, tiny shows, in an art gallery. And when that lease was available, I kind of penciled out, could I go back into this business? I had gone into kind of a business-to-business thing and thought, I could maybe, find X number of shows per month, maybe $5,000 a month. I'd be like quadrupling my output from when I was at Cubberley. But the landlord wanted $18,000 for something that I thought was worth about $5,000 a month. And I thought, as an old Palo Alto family, I thought they were nuts. And I feel like this is a real estate problem, not a community problem. And also want to say I feel like business interests are overrepresented already in our government as are real estate interests, even on this panel. So I would generally disagree with the tone of the question.
Tim Gray?
We need to roll out the red carpet. I understand in Mountain View, if you have a business idea, they line up all the city departments and say, what do you need and how can we make this happen and how can we make this happen quickly? Really, we need to do more of the demand side in terms of if we have lots of customers, we will have lots of business. And we need to provide a concierge, for example, to maybe Facebook. We have Facebook here. How can we make sure that they stay and grow in our community? Google was here at one time. They went to Mountain View. We need to think outside the box also, and maybe opening up University Avenue several blocks to no cars, producing pedestrian corridors, providing a different experience so our city can maintain its historical charm but grow with the current needs.
Brian Steen?
Yes, thank you. I think Palo Alto has a huge asset with its existing business community and the culture of our community. We know the businesses do like being here. Many of you have patronized businesses that have been here for many years. They want to stay here. So we want to make sure that we provide an atmosphere where people do not feel they have to leave the city in order to afford their rent or to have a remodel job that takes forever in terms of getting approvals. For new businesses that want to come to the city, we really should put out the red carpet. I agree with Tim Gray on that. We know people do want to come here, but we should not discourage them. We can basically change the Palo Alto process, which is so famous, but at many instances it works against our common interest. So I believe we can make it better. We can be proud of our community. We can welcome new business and keep our existing businesses here by working more effectively and more efficiently.
Leong?
There's several things that I think the city could do. One, as several of the other candidates have already talked about, is streamlining the permitting process. Businesses like to get into operation as soon as they can so they can start generating revenue. And by streamlining that permitting process, that helps them be more successful. Second is zoning. We've seen one of our neighborhood shopping centers, Alma Plaza, get converted to residential. We need to protect certain areas of our city for retail and make sure that they don't get converted to residential housing. And the third is, the business license tax is certainly not going to help attract businesses by putting up another barrier for businesses to come to town. Thanks.
Corey Levens?
My answer on this question is based in large part on my own experience as owning a retail children's goods store in Mountain View back in the 90s, and my corporate law practice where I represented formerly large corporations, but mostly now startup companies and emerging growth companies. First, what we have to do is change the almost anti-business philosophy that has grown in Palo Alto over the years. We do this by many ways. A business development office. We can have incentives for businesses, whether it's tax incentives, development incentives. We can streamline the approval process. We also need to, when I had my store, the most important thing was that the city provided the necessary services to me. And the surest way of keeping a city out of this, keeping a business out of your city is by having your employees that provide those services go on strike. Another thing that will keep them businesses out is business taxes that are larger than they are in other communities. I'm not in principle as a business owner against the business tax, but the one that's currently being proposed is not an efficient way of doing it. So it's all of these issues that have provided the philosophy in Palo Alto that has been created the anti-business philosophy. And understand it's the business revenues that makes our quality of life possible in Palo Alto.
Gail Price?
Yes, it's very key that in a recessionary period we need to reinvent ourselves in terms of our economic development strategy using the materials, resources, and studies that have already been done. I'm a very strong proponent for looking at best practices in other communities. Berkeley, for example, people don't appreciate that comparison. However, they have a Buy Berkeley program, which is very effective. The city of Sunnyvale has a very invigorated economic development policy, and they have some very good practices. I think we need to look to those. Those include examining how they have developed and enhanced their relationships with their respective Chamber of Commerce. We have tremendous expertise here, and we need to use that expertise more carefully. Perhaps we need to redeploy some of the employees in terms of an ombudsman position that could really help facilitate the review. We need to increase the permitting process. The one-stop development center idea was originated in Sunnyvale, and we have it here, but let's look how that can be improved. We need to demonstrate we have outcomes, reinvigorate 2 of our 4 neighborhood shopping centers. We should work more deliberately with Stanford in terms of the expansion of the Stanford Shopping Center that could provide a hotel opportunity, which in turn is transit occupancy tax, which is very, very critical. We need to have balanced land use decisions and be aware of the fiscal impacts of those. I think we can do a lot better, and I look forward to working on this.
Larry Klein?
When I was mayor last year, I took as my slogan for the year, taking care of business, and I meant it in both ways. We don't have just one retail business community in Palo Alto. We have several, and they're doing well or not so well in a variety of ways. Starting at the top, Town and Country is doing fabulously well, 98% occupancy right now. Going to the bottom, University Avenue is not doing well. I've spoken to the head of the Chamber of Commerce as to cooperating with the Chamber to figure out why Town and Country is doing so well and University Avenue is not, and that we need to talk to the people who chose to pay even the higher rents in TNC as compared to what they could have found on University Avenue. Stanford Shopping Center is doing about average for shopping centers of its kind. Overall, we can do better. We're doing somewhat better than some of our surrounding communities, but that's nowhere near good enough because our sales tax revenue is down. One of the reasons we hired Jim Keene as our new city manager, and that was one of the things that I had responsibility for as mayor last year, is that Jim has a very good record in economic development. We need to do more. We only have one person who's a full-time economic development person. We probably need to expand that effort. We have a great brand. We're doing well in some things. We recently landed Tesla, taking over 400,000 square feet in the Stanford Research Park. Facebook has taken over new space in the College Terrace area. But we can do better, and I hope that we will.
Nancy Shepard?
Thank you. This is one of those questions where 5 years from now will we have Edgewood Plaza open again? And will Alma be servicing our community? There's a sign up on Town and Country Shopping Center that says that Trader Joe's was supposed to open in the spring of 2009, and it is now almost Halloween. So as excited as I am about the revitalization of Town and Country Shopping Center and the lack of drama that we had with asking for taller buildings or more square footage, I would like to do three things: partner with the Chamber and make sure the Chamber can give us some answers as to how we as a city can better cooperate with our business community so that things are efficiently opened. I'd like an audit of the permit process, because streamlining it is one thing, but what if you miss something? What if you forget? One of my neighborhoods have shown me that the toxic storage over in the business park was missed during a critical point of relocating with their permit process. And finally, we do have a business development officer here in City Hall, and we need to measure their performance better to see if she can't go out, since we have Tesla, and find more green business to come in so we can begin to spark some of the innovation and the new technology that could come into play in Palo Alto. Thank you.
Chris Gaither.
Okay, thank you. I would primarily focus on, since the question was about vacancy, is in the commercial sector, we need to do something like we did in the residential sector to address the issue during the dot-com boom days when residents were in situations where their rents were going up and escalating. We need to have a situation where we can provide businesses with a mediation to negotiate their rents. You may think, well, they're business people, they can do this on their own, but people are trying to run their businesses and things get behind and they don't always feel assertive to do this on their own. That would be the first thing to address the vacancy, and I think we could do that right away. And my colleagues are probably tired of hearing me be on the Terminator Schwarzenegger spiel, but I really think that we have to sell Palo Alto business, and that means in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, and we need to go out and bring business here to Palo Alto. We need to show them that we're the home of HP, we're the home of Varian, we're the home of Facebook, we're the home of Gleim Jewelers, so we're the home of big, we're the home of small, mom and pop, and I believe that if we can sell that, we can bring more businesses here, and as my colleagues have said, obviously to bring them here, we have to make it easier for them to open up through the permit process. Thank you.
And John Hackman, you get the last word on this one.
Well, the public will have the last word on all these issues, I hope. The weekly Friday referred to me as a problem solver, and that's how I've tried to make my contribution at this time. I've attended virtually all the recent council meetings and finance committee meetings, and here's some things I've tried to do recently. I was asked by the head to join the Downtown Parking Commission through the city with the Chamber of Commerce to give them ideas on the different utilization of parking to increase the functionality of existing parking to increase revenues of business. Specifically, one issue is employees parking in customer and client spaces. These are customers and clients are people driving here to give us money in our businesses. They need to be accommodated, they need to be welcomed, not too often ticketed and not blocked by employees. With the Chamber, I met with the Executive Committee this week at their invitation to propose two new models to the Chamber of Commerce. One is a membership model that I hope will be more productive for them. A second was an offer to use a Palo Alto business registry, which I decided to develop and offer free to the city and the Chamber for their use in marketing businesses. An ombudsman is a good idea. Measure A tax is the wrong tax at the wrong time. It is possible to use private resources working with the Chamber to increase city revenues. Business revenues are going to help city revenues. They're the main driver in many ways, and we need to work with that. Edgewood should remain a single-story traditional shopping center, and we should work with that neighborhood. Thank you.